Where do we start, especially after such great presentations we've had so far? So it's my privilege to talk to you a little bit about authentic learning, service learning. I'm going to really concentrate mostly on the service learning piece, but talk a little bit about the authentic learning piece is where we can take our curriculum and really tie it to what's happening in the classroom. I brought this up here because it's my little plug for some great work that I think that our county commissioners are doing right now, and I don't know if you're aware of it or not. And how you're going to say, well, how does this tie into service learning? Well, through my work as a superintendent, I've also, now that I'm retired, and helping to chair the Workforce Task Force subcommittee of the 2030 task force that the Monroe County Commissioners have kind of put in place as we move forward in the future of Monroe County. And we as a task force subcommittee are concerned about our students and where they play in the role of the future of Monroe County. So that's kind of why I pulled this together. We are very concerned. Merlin's with us here today. He's on the task force. He's very concerned about our role of our students and how and our schools, and are we preparing? Are we helping them to be the best they can be in the future? Well, part of this group, I had the opportunity to talk about, with my work with the task force, excellence, success. What does that mean? What do we think that means? Where do we go with that word excellence? So there were three groups that I happened to do a very informal survey. It was between 20 and 40 people, depending on the group that I was with at any point. There was a group of seniors within this conversation, middle-aged professionals, all walks of life, middle-aged professionals, and then high school students. Actually, they were my high school, East Stroudsburg's area school district's E-team, which you're going to hear a little bit more about as we move forward. And I asked for them to describe three words. What comes to mind when you hear the word excellence? And let's kind of see. Those are all the different words to come to mind when you hear the word excellence. And I did a little research on that because I wasn't sure when I was doing this, do I want to use the word excellence or do I want to use the word success? Actually, if you try for, and some of the research that I talked, or even some of the documentation that I read, if you really try your hardest, you will be successful. Now that's going to look different for everybody, and we understand that. And I looked back onto these three different groups. I was really wondering if any of the words, the three words that I asked, if that duplicated, and you might be surprised or not to know that those words really did not duplicate. I thought maybe they would, but they didn't. The answers from our more senior group, distinction, perfection, top-notch, outstanding. Leadership, some of the words from our middle-aged professionals, attitude, motivation, perseverance, ambition, ethic. And then some of the words from our high school students, dedication, success, happiness, strong-minded, accomplished, greatness, and respect. The words never crossed, which really surprised me. So what does that really say for our young people today? And I'm thinking about that, thinking about these three different levels, understanding that we're coming from three different places as we're trying to help educate our students. How can we help our students with the changes in education that are absolutely inevitable, which we know are coming? How do we help with those changes? So I thought it would be interesting to look at some generational information. I don't know if you've ever really pulled this up and really looked at that. And if you would like to share today, you may. If you would like not to share today, that's quite all right as well. But If we have some folks here from the greatest generation, would you like to raise your hands? All right. How about any baby boomers in the room today? Okay. How about Gen X, 1965 to 84? All right. Millennials, or what we call the Y generation, millennials, 1985, 2004. Okay, and then Gen Z, if you were born from 2005 on. Okay, it's really exciting because we have all 5 of those generations actually within this room today. And what's really cool about this, really interesting about this, is we're all engaging together. Think about that. So what's happening here is really, really phenomenal. So in thinking about all those different generations, I think it's important where I'm going with all this. Our system, where we need to be, when I say our system, our educational system, where we need to be accountable, and we know that. We know that we need to be accountable, but we still need to evolve, and we, as public and as public educators, as any educator, needs to know we still need to be open to involvement. I think so far everything we've heard has kind of talked about that. We need to evolve as we move change, the changing world in education. And one of the reasons that I strongly wanted to talk about this today was it kind of in my travels, I pick up on there may be some negativity out there about, oh, that generation, they're always in technology, or, oh, they always have their face in an iPhone or something like that. And that, I don't like that. That's not right, because what I'm going to show you is what, and I don't want to let it out of the cat out of the bag here, but what I'm going to show you is some really important information. I think that through what we're doing and through the engaged work that's going to be, technology has so many opportunities for our children. And I would like to think that these little people right here might be looking at Lucky 7. So I think that might be happening right now. So thinking about the fun that we can do and how we can teach the basics through the iPads or through problem solving no matter what age. Online distance learning, some of the really interesting things that can go online, can happen through online distance learning. Collaborative learning, where folks are sitting around and working together. This happens to be a picture of our E-team. Our E-team is our group of high school students from North and South that work together to teach seniors within the district, and even if you're not in the district, they come and they do workshops, and our high school kids teach the different components, different Excel, online banking, whatever you want, they teach it. So it's really a neat thing that's going on. And then web seminars, connecting students with astronauts. That I happened to observe a class at High School North with Darren Dabrowski as he was doing some webinars with astronauts and from NASA right within the classroom. He's a math teacher and along with a physics teacher, they were going back and forth together. It was pretty phenomenal to watch that going on. Watching the students design their own airplanes and figuring out aeronautics and how that works. It's really great stuff. So why is this important? Well, it's important because during the next 5 years, the millennial workforce demographic will grow to 72 million, while the baby boomers in the workforce will decrease by 30 million. Much of my information that I've gathered today is by a personal friend of mine. Her name is Mindy Braithwaite. Barbara Braithwaite, you might have known, was a teacher in the Pocono Mountain School District. She's retired, social studies teacher in the Pocono Mountain School District. Her daughter and I became very good friends as she was doing some doctoral work millennials. And some of her research is what I'm quoting today. She did extensive study on the area of social systems. So I reached out to Mindy and I said, so Mindy, help me better understand our youth of today, because I need to counter these negative statements. And so what I find, what she's saying is, there's so many things happening. What I like to say to you, in all our schools here in Monroe County, there's so many positive things happening. And to help the momentum going, we need to better understand our Y and Z generations. And some of the research is showing us that our millennials and Zs, our youngsters, are on the track right now to be the most educated. They possess a deep desire to make a contribution, are a more relational generation, have a different outlook toward work and careers, have a different style of communication, and will challenge and impact the organizations they serve. If you look at types of learning and retention, average retention rates of information, where does lecture stand? Exactly what I'm doing right now. We kind of talked about that. Only 5% retention rate. Reading, 10. This goes all along with what our other speakers have talked about today. So it's important that as we move forward as educators, as we move forward in the planning of the way our schools should look and the planning of the way our information is delivered, even if it's dictated information, even if it's something that's legislated. I hate to say that word, but even if it is, we still need to look at the way we're delivering that information. It can look different. It doesn't have to look the same. You can learn by teaching. These are this is a picture of our E-team teaching some senior citizens. We have a water conservation program in East Stroudsburg High School South where we came in and we Broadhead Watershed came in and helped us create a rain garden. So you can learn by doing, and we must continue and understand that students have a strong desire to make a meaningful contribution. It's very important for them to give back. It's part of who they are, our generation. We have our E-team that's given back. They embrace the fact that young people are more relational generation. They enjoy collaborating and looking to others as mentors. They like to help. They like to work with other folks. It's important for us to accept the fact that this generation has a healthier understanding of career and work than we do. They understand that work-life balance is critically important. And then due to 24/7 instantaneous communication, this generation has become a generation of short bursts of information. So really, shortness, quick little spurts of information is really a better way to communicate. The days of long lectures are over, and I think it's important for me to move on and help you folks as we move on with our presentation. So I've been very fortunate to see how some of these different projects look in East Stroudsburg. And our students collaborate together with research and learning, service learning, and what it is where you take a group of students. It's facilitated by a teacher. They pick the topic, they research the topic, they work out the script of the topic, they plan how they want to deliver the information, and then there's a presentation. This is Trish Teener, one of our teachers at South, who is very involved with service learning. This was a brochure on transferring the rape culture. I don't know if anybody saw it or saw it advertised. It was outstanding. It was done through Trish's class. We've had other film documentaries on suicide and some the human trafficking project that just occurred as well. There was an advocacy day in Harrisburg where the students went to share their civic concerns as to making sure that their voices were heard. It's important that our students continue to do that, and I feel that that's important as a past educator, as someone who lives in the community, that we make sure and enable our students and give them that way to get there. Not just, it's not on their own, we need to help facilitate that. Some of the other projects, we had the Broadhead Watershed Project, the recycling programs. We had some of our elementary students made rainwater recycling containers. Maybe you saw some of those around town throughout the course of the last couple years. We've had the students planned career fairs the past 2 years in a row, planned, organized, a whole 9 yards. They did it. They organized it. They got the different employers from the community to come in and help with the careers. And then our UN Inspire students visited the State Senate, as well as most recently in September, one of our students is here with us that had the opportunity to be on the floor of the United Nations for the Youth World Day of Peace Day, to hear one of our high school South students talk about what peace meant to her, right on the floor of the United Nations. That's pretty cool stuff, and that's where all these different service learning opportunities have helped take some of our students. So, benefits of service learning and why I'm so passionate about it: increases the relevancy of education to students living in a real world, enhances personalized education for students, teaches positive values, leadership, citizenship, and personal responsibility, empowers students as learners, teachers, achievers, and leaders, and invites students to become members of their own community, anchored and caring, and maybe they all won't leave like my son went to Santa Monica, California, who knows, But, that's part of it too. But it's, if you're engaging the students, now, that's half the step of maybe leaving for a while, but then coming back and developing that workforce that we need and the community mindedness that we need. So thank you all very much for this.